Dangin Nira. Dan am hoin uframevna. Eb nisksferilalfa ureb sofklin bushovnisklalfa. Lesson 26. Participles and Perfect Infinitives. Verbs are perhaps the most important parts of a language, but they can be used to do more than just describe the action of a sentence. Often we need to use them to describe nouns, and to do that we need participles, verb adjectives. Like normal verbs, participles have tense and voice. There are past, present, and future participles, each with an active and passive version. There are also subjunctive participles, though they only have past and present versions, as a future subjunctive is just a future indicative. To form these, you first remove the oi infinitive ending, and then add on the participle ending, which will end in n. For the active endings, we have on for the present, olon for the past, olin for the future, urnen for the subjunctive present, and ulden for the subjunctive past. For the passive endings, we have an for the present, alan for the past, albin for the future, agen for the subjunctive present, and almen for the subjunctive past. Let's take the verb serudhoi, to capture. The active present participle is serudhon, capturing. The active past participle is serudholon, used to capture. The active future participle is serudholin, about to capture. The active subjunctive present participle is serudhurnen, might be capturing. The active subjunctive past participle is serudhulden, might have captured. The passive present participle is serudhan, being captured. The passive past participle is serudhalan, captured. The passive future participle is serudhalbin, about to be captured. The passive subjunctive present participle is serudhagen, would be being captured. The passive subjunctive past participle is serudhalmen, would have been captured. Notice how the stress of the word has changed. All participles have stress on the first syllable of their grammatical ending. As another example of this, take fektoi, to throw out. Its active present participle is fekton, throwing out, with the stress on the end. Because of this stress change, verbs whose infinitives have only one syllable are slightly different. They add an extra o in front of every participle ending. For example, koi, to sit, has an active present participle of koon, sitting, and so on. This is true even if the single-syllable verb takes a prefix. For example, taking loi, to lick, the passive past participle is loalan, licked. Adding the prefix zgo, we get zgoloi, to relick, and the passive past participle zgoloalan, relicked. Remember that participles are adjectives and decline as such depending on where they are in the sentence. Let's look at some examples. Nen leton risa meglos gigme. The walking man is hungry. Nen bava legrolok nen kelolonusume. The dog was watching the woman who used to run. Defining Heba as child, Beetes nen firmolliglu heber komase sotsmita. I gave a bottle of water to the child who was about to swim. Notice how, since English does not have past or future active participles, they have to be translated as relative clauses. Duklolis nen doaglu nasansadakrer anatwe. I will buy a cake for the doctor being licked. Sinaha tsukelok nen mapatallanu gungole. My father is holding the thrown rock. Nensgoslo albin libraka mokmanuin urkend butari. The sentence about to be respoken is long and very complicated. Nen varm kulden risa legrok nen varm kalmenu rise. The man who would have killed is watching the man who who would have been killed. Any participle can also be turned into an adverb, simply by removing the n and adding rg. For example, take Baglboi, to mock. We can get Baglbon, mocking, and then Baglborg, mockingly. Note that the participle stress carries over to adverbs as well. Now, the infinitive of a verb can be quite useful, most obviously after modals. You currently know two infinitive forms, the active and passive present infinitives, ending in oi and oabi, respectively. There are also active and passive perfect infinitives. The active perfect infinitive ends in etei and translates as to have done. For example, heliketei, to have spoken. In a sentence, hastitos heliketei zov gedmepilos. I want to have spoken, but I was not there. The passive perfect infinitive ends in atrabi and translates as to have been done. For example, valatrabi, to have been loved. In a sentence, zonok valatrabi taskino nasme. He should have been loved by his mother. Notice that using perfect infinitives gives a subtle difference in meaning from using past modals. You could say, hastitolos helikoi, zov gedmepilos, I was wanting to speak, but I wasn't there. This implies that your want occurred in the past. With hastitos heliketei, you are implying that your want is occurring now, that you are regretting not speaking, even if you weren't aware of the opportunity earlier. Similarly, zonolok valawabi implies that the judgment of whether this person should be loved was made in the past, and this is now being reported. Zonok valatrabi implies that the judgment is being made now as a reassessment. The should is present, while the love is past. As such, perfect infinitives tend to be most used when assessing past events and one's current move towards them. Tying both concepts together in an example sentence, defining Mnogloi as to retire and Kwadma as enemy. Nebobelvin folma nen mnoglolin hakentakra hastitolok varmkoi patino wegalanu Kwadme zof Sven mokskasin hdonetei kit patin Kwadma legemurneuk. Yesterday, the soon-to-retire warrior wanted to kill his hated enemy, but now he is happy to have permitted that his enemy might live. So now you've learned how to use participles and perfect infinitives. Make sure you know these words before moving on to the next video.